over here where they've done a really good job sort of saying that, okay, it's a volunteering platform connecting volunteers to NGOs and opportunities, which sort of in that moment itself gives Google the signal and tells Google exactly what you're doing. So that's something like as simple as a page title. And there's a lot more technical aspects that you can go into, which is like meta descriptions, which is something that you see over here, where it says Connect for is a volunteering platform that makes it easy, ... over there. Keywords in your content. So are you putting up enough blog content? Are the keywords that you want to rank for being reflected in your blog content? And also how your URLs are created. So that's for on-page optimization. What I'm going to focus on for this presentation, giving you real tips, will be for local SEO, because it's a quick fix. You don't need your developer to help you with it. As long as you have access to a Google My Business account and a Google account, you can handle it yourself. So if you see over here, this is what a local SEO box looks like, and it basically takes into account where you're searching from and what you're searching for, what are the reviews that you have, and how, are you posting content regularly or not. So I think for NGOs, especially in this moment, this is something that we can definitely leverage. So a few tips that we can sort of leverage are, firstly, I think having a Google My Business account is very, very important. So just firstly setting up a Google My Business account. And in some cases, you may already have it created, but there are ways that you can sort of optimize for it. So one thing is putting keywords in your title. So if you see over here, the search was for organic fruits and vegetables. And if you see that the ones that actually have like organic garden has shown up, and they all have listings over here, organic food store, organic fruits and vegetables. So sort of giving Google the signal of what you actually do. So if you are working, say, for, animal welfare, ensure that you have the word, like whatever the name is, say, for stray dogs as an example, and volunteer with animals, help animals, something like that, so that when users are actually searching, Google can connect them with your business. Another huge part of it is, you guys do so much good work getting reviews, whether from like people who donated, beneficiaries, people who volunteered with you, getting more and more reviews. So if you see the farmer example, this business may not have, organic fruits and vegetables written in it. However, he has over 154 reviews, which gives to Google the signal that this brand can be trusted, and we'd like to show them within the top 3 search results. And another big part of it is sharing posts and content, which Connect4 has also been doing a really good job of. Is, there's so much out there, maybe so many people searching for you, and currently right now a lot of people are looking for how can we help, what can we do. So also using your Google My Business account to share updates and posts really helps boost your local SEO presence. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box and we can sort of get to them after. I'm now going to go into search engine marketing, which is going to be the main focus of our conversation today. So in a nutshell, search engine marketing, it's the practice of marketing your business using paid ads, where you basically pay Google to sort of appear higher on the search engine results page. So advertisers and businesses will bid on certain keywords. It's like an auction system. So you tell Google, okay, I'm willing to pay, say, 40 rupees for this keyword or 41 rupees for this keyword. And there's obviously different businesses also bidding against it. And Google uses, how much you're willing to pay, how good your ad is, how good your website is, and then they give you like an ad rank and decide in which position to show your ad. So why is search engine marketing important? So as I said earlier, 93% of online experiences begin with a search engine. The direct benefit is capturing the customer in that key moment with making them high value prospects. It's measurable and controllable form of marketing, which is really great. It lets you get so much data from Google that not only helps your digital marketing strategy, but can also help you with your overall marketing strategy, or can also help you figure out how can you innovate in the current state. So like, can I offer something a little bit more virtual? For donations, maybe we should try tying up with like more online payment vendors. So it gives you all this data, can really help you even beyond marketing with your business decisions and stuff. And it is much quicker than SEO. So as I said earlier, SEO is it's unpaid and you're more responsible for it. Whereas with search engine marketing or paid search, it's quicker because you just need to sort of tell Google, okay, I'm willing to pay this much, and create, good ads, have a good website, and you should be fine with that. One really big opportunity for NGOs especially is Google is very kind and has a Google grant. So basically the Google grant gives NGOs that are eligible $10,000 US dollars per month in free advertising credit. So there's obviously a lot of like I have a little guide afterwards as well that I'll show you, which tells you how you can apply for this. But this is what we have been using for Connect for, and it's really, really helpful. So basically it's Google giving you free 10,000 US dollars to allow you to advertise for search ads only. So when people are maybe searching for a specific bunch of keywords, you can show your ad then, and then you can use that to sort of generate more traffic to your website, generate more donations, get more volunteers to sign up. So there's a huge bunch of things you can do. A few things in terms of eligibility. Obviously, you have to be a non-government entity or organization. You unfortunately cannot be a hospital or healthcare organization and not a school or academic institution, although they do have a separate program for that. And I've also sort of listed a few specifications for India. And when I share the guide with you as well, it has a link to each page and how your NGO can apply for something like this to avail of this 10,000 US dollars that you get in free advertising credit. So a few success stories from India specifically is Google has created this themselves. And I know a lot of you had questions on, how can we increase the number of donations? And actually, through these case studies, you can see that SOS Children's Villages was able to use this Google grant, so the free money that they gave them, to increase, they got 40K in donations, a 30% increase in website traffic, and, helping them build their digital online presence. Another really good example was Make a Difference. They've also used their Google Ad grants, and they've been able to build a network of volunteers, increase donations, and again, drive more awareness about events. So I think that's also a very, big part of it is, pushing yourself and making yourself more, pushing your brand out there and making people more aware of what you do. So I'm going to just now delve into a little bit more about the technical about the search marketing. So the first thing I'd like to sort of share with you guys is that ever since COVID, one I guess positive that has come out of it is that more than ever, people around the world are searching how to help. So people have, Google has realized that there's been a huge increase in keywords like help the community, help the elderly, how to volunteer. So individuals themselves want to volunteer, how to donate food, how can I help local restaurants. So there's been a huge shift, and there's a lot more people who are willing to help and volunteer and donate as well. And so I have the tools as well that we've used for this. So for this data that I've got you, we've used a tool called Google Trends, which is free for everyone. And you can sort of use it on your laptop, on your phone, anytime to just sort of understand what are people searching for? Is there a certain keyword that you have in mind that you would like to understand? Are people searching for it? And that is where you can sort of pick up on these broader trends worldwide, specific to a certain country, however you like. Then to the second, I sort of wanted to focus specifically on India and the opportunity for NGOs within search marketing. And we've used the Google Ads tool to sort of understand, how much, what are the average monthly searches? What have the trends been like? So something very interesting, again, going back to the question about donations, is Donate to NGOs has on average monthly searches of 720. But if you notice this graph, this is for the past 12 months until May, you'll see that ever since COVID, there has been a big increase in people searching for it. Similarly, something as interesting as virtual volunteering. We have only 90 searches, but that trend is also, it's an upward trend right now. So the Google Ads tool gives you all this type of information. It's free, it's free to set up a general account. But as I said, for NGOs, once you create a Google Grants account, you get access to all this information without even having to pay for these keywords. So just sort of to give you an easy tool to use for this kind of keyword research, even if you don't have a Google Ads account, is Google Trends. And you can sort of look at, what is the world searching? I mean, the top 3, let's ignore those. But if you go in over here, if you go to the website, you can look at coronavirus search trends by country, by region, everything. one thing that I sort of looked at specifically over here was donate for coronavirus. It was interesting to see, obviously, there was a peak when it just started. It's sort of leveling out, but there is still sustained interest in this currently. And you can take a look at, based off of like weightages and stuff, where are the regions that we're seeing higher search intent for these type of keywords. So I'm just going to share a little bit about the mechanics of this search marketing, or like if you were to get your Google Grants account, how you could run it. It's basically three aspects working together. It's the keywords that you're telling Google that you want to bid on. It's how your ad looks, and and a very, very big part about it is your website. So Google will take into consideration these three factors, align them. Does the keyword relate to the ad? Does the ad relate to the landing page? Then they'll say that, okay, your ad is eligible to rank, and then they'll give you a score as well to tell you that, okay, your ad will rank first, second, third, or at the bottom of the page, in any of those ways. So for example, one thing that, we've seen a lot while reviewing different accounts is that people tend to, when you have a Google grant, you think that, okay, we have so much free money, we can just bid on a random bunch of keywords, but Google is very, very specific about that, because they don't want you to also take advantage of the free money that we're getting. So you have to ensure that your keywords are actually relevant to what you do as an organization. Your ad should also be relevant, and your landing page. So to give you an example for Connect4, if someone is searching for animal volunteering, they will see this ad, and the page that they go to is also the page that Connect4 has specifically related to opportunities for animal volunteering, so that the entire path that the consumer, the searcher has, is seamless. And even Google knows that we're trying our best to sort of, keep the customer engaged and have them keep them as relevant as possible. So just to take you through like a few steps, obviously the first thing is, as advertisers or as organizations, we select keywords. So we tell Google, okay, I want to bid on a list of these 100 keywords. And then when the user searches the keyword, so the user searches a keyword, then the search engine will rank your ad depending on how relevant your keyword is to your ad and how your ad is related to your landing page. And then the winning ad will appear. And then the advertiser only pays when the ad is clicked. Again, the benefit for Google Grant people, for NGOs and Google Grant people, is that you don't have to actually pay when your ad is clicked, because it's technically free. So you will get, they'll give you a specific spend, but you're actually not paying anything for that. I also wanted to spend some time talking about how powerful having this, having the ability to even show up on a show up as a search ad is, because you're basically allowed to occupy so much real estate on a search engine results page. And Google gives you several extensions. While this is a main ad over here up until the animals, the rest is all sort of value adds that Google gives you. So you can add in your phone number as a call extension without even having to pay anything extra, not upgrade your plan, nothing. You have structured snippets, which basically tells you okay, what are the different types of volunteering that Connect4 offers. And then you can also have site link extensions. So even if, say, someone is may not be directly searching for donations, you can put in, okay, donate to our NGO as a site link extension, giving your users even more ways to engage with your brand and help align with your eventual goal. So if you see over here, in a more timely fashion, we've created a link for Connect4 webinars, because that is a point of engagement that we'd like to create with people who are potentially searching, and events and stuff, of course. The next step, obviously, is, there's so many metrics out there. Google gives you a ton of these metrics. I've just sort of shared a few over here, because the reason it matters is that even once you get the Google Grants account, when you're maintaining that account, you have to maintain certain metric standards. So I'll just quickly go through 4 main ones that are relevant to the Google Grants account. Obviously, impressions is the number of times your ad is shown, a number of times someone sees your ad. Clicks is the number of times your ad is clicked. Click-through rate or engagement rate it's a very good metric of how relevant and how engaging your ad was. So say clicks divided by impressions into 100, and cost per click. So how much are you actually paying per click? So specifically for Google Grants accounts, click-through rate you have to maintain a click-through rate of about 5%, and your CPC has to be at maximum $2, which for us, advertising in India is actually super helpful because you can, that's technically around like anywhere between 120 to 140 rupees given the exchange rate. So that's a big number, and that actually helps Indian NGOs and Indian organizations sort of be able to spread even globally using their Google Grants account. So I'll just sort of take you through, a little bit of data on how we've worked with Connect4 to use the Google Grants account and the effective management of the Google Ads account. So in 2020, we were able to generate 200 new signups through Google Search Ads. There were over 32,722 people saw our ads surrounding volunteering and NGOs. And another bit that's interesting is that Google Ads gives you a lot of data. So something that we realized was an equal number of clicks came from those between 18 to 24 and those between 25 to 34. So this can also help decide your other marketing strategies. So if you're spending a little bit of money on Facebook or Instagram ads, you know who to target because you know that these people are the ones engaging and searching with us more. And we obviously saw that females had a stronger click-through rate and engagement efficiencies versus males, which again ties back to, okay, what are we trying to offer? How can we invest our money better on other marketing platforms? So in terms of the steps for Google Ads, what you need to do as an organization, or if you're working with an agency to do it, is keyword research. It's a very important aspect of it. Ad creation, so writing really good ads, especially when it comes to NGOs, there has to be some amount of like emotional connect. You have to be very trustworthy. People have to be able to trust you when it comes to donations and stuff. Website optimization, so ensuring your website is optimized, and then of course you can launch your campaign. And a very, very big part of this is daily monitoring. So if Google figures out that you've just set it to stand and stagnate, they do take that as a policy violation, and they can shut down your account. And generally as well, it's very important with Google Ads campaigns to constantly monitor, constantly see. Like for example, the pre-COVID search behavior and post-COVID search behavior we've realized is very different, but you have to monitor that daily, weekly, monthly to sort of arrive at these trends and findings. Some, broader level tips that we always share is that, think about and try to think exactly like your potential customer, user, volunteer, donor. What would they be searching for? What are some offline learnings that you can use to, maybe put into your ad copy? Like what are some pain points your potential donors have? How can we sort of tackle those through our ad copy, through our website? Stay up to date on search trends using tools like Google Trends to identify demand. Utilize knowledge sharing websites and forums like Quora, where people are always asking, is this NGO trustworthy? Can I donate there? Sort of figuring out what are the pain points from those type of platforms, and again, using those learnings and applying them to your ads and to your websites for Google Ads, and refreshing your ad copy often. So always trying to test new ad copy, seeing, okay, what works better with a specific consumer base, what doesn't. That's always, always keep testing, and that always helps. So I'm going to I know there was a request to go over some other digital tools as well that NGOs can use. And I think one really good tool that we are able to use is Google Analytics. It's a free tool, and you just need a developer to put a code on there, and it gives you a lot of information. So it'll tell you who your audience is, how did you acquire them, how do they behave, what actions did they take. So I've just shown you a screenshot of an analytics account that we have access to. And what I feel is super interesting for NGOs especially is if you have an online payment option for donations, it's obviously, it's not called revenue, but you can sort of understand what channels are driving the most number of donations. Or if you don't and your main goal is volunteers, what channel is driving the most users to your website, how many sessions are they having, what regions are they coming from, what time of the day are they coming. And Google even goes to the extent of telling you like what are other segments that they're interested in. So do they have an affinity for something else? Like do they have an affinity for maybe green living? Are they in market for other products as well? And they'll also give you alerts like saying, okay, today you're one site, you have a site speed issue. So this is just like an overview, but it goes into a lot of detail about these type of things, like who's your audience, how did you acquire them, how did they behave, and what actions did they take. And this basically allows you to sort of even improve upon your website if your digital presence, whereas digital presence has to become a priority right now. Yeah. So that's where I'm done. So I'll stop sharing.
We can't hear you, Aarti.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you so much, Sunaina. I think this will be really helpful for our NGOs. And Google Grants is something that I'm sure most of the NGOs do not know about. Now that we have discussed how to reach the audience, it is important to understand how to interact with them and engage them. So we have with us Aditi, who will help us understand the importance of online reputation management through audience and influencer engagement. So over to you, Aditi.
Thank you so much, Aarti. So I'll just show you my presentation and explain. So how do we manage online connections, reputations? How do NGOs basically do the online management? For that, virtual presence is the need of the hour. How does virtual volunteering play an important role? Basically, volunteers can transcend geographical and man-made borders and contribute to a cause without physical presence at the NGO, because currently the situation is such that we can't move about. So it's essential to create a database of contacts. For that, we need to upgrade our database and we need to do careful planning for better reach on social media, of course, like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Daily tweets also make a lot of difference. Participation in events, so you can engage and get active with events going on all year round related to the non-profit sector. It could be CSR, the banks offer a lot of engagement programs with NGOs, etc. Form partnerships, it's a very, very crucial part. So strategic partnerships can expand the reach of your marketing efforts. For example, donor and the right non-profit organization, or an influencer and a non-profit organization. So recently, Vellum's Girls has come up with this scheme of doing some kind of a fundraising so that they can shift the migrant workers who are stuck in different parts of the in India to their homes. So they've currently collected over 3 lakhs, and Kareena Kapoor is one of the main people who has marketed it on her social media, and it's got umpteen number of likes. So that is what an influencer non-profit organization does. Okay, internal stakeholders like volunteers and donors. I've categorized it in 2 categories. So basically, you have to have a volunteer match before you start. People who are good with writing content for emails, etc., to teaching a particular skill or designing could be segregated. 2 types of volunteers. One is institutional donors, so the larger organizations which have CSR programs, and individual donors with higher disposable funds. Household incomes in the developed countries have spiked up, and that's why there's a more willingness to give to these NGOs. There are external stakeholders also, like journalists and influencers, who play a very important role. So press articles published by journalists play a very important role when you search on Google. News articles, online journals, case studies, reports, they make a large difference to the audience. So I've listed a few examples. Celebrities like Akshay Kumar, who believe in donating. They have played a very important role in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Also, he runs a free martial arts school for women and launched an app which helps families and soldiers who are martyred on the border. Amitabh Bachchan's polio education campaign, which was very famous and still famous, was extremely powerful, which aimed to reach out for people for bringing a sustainable change. Also a philanthropist, Rohini Nailkani, she's very, very famous. What she does is she urges all Indians to join the Giving Tuesday India movement. This initiative aims to target all sectors to come together and collaborate to solve India's social issues. She has a brilliant website, which I'm going to share with you in the email later. She believes in gender equality, women empowerment, children education, etc. Also, model, actor, and producer, very famous Milind Soman, who believes in marathons. He has a big support for women, creating awareness for breast cancer and women's fitness. He engages in education and promoting fitness among women from all the communities and backgrounds all over India. So how do social media influencers help an NGO to form in form of charity? 92% of the NGOs use content marketing, but only 26% believe that their strategy is effective. So what do we do for that? NGOs need to determine the market, the target audience, and volunteers while making a strategic plan. So social media influencers can be a great help in spreading the awareness and bringing any brand into limelight. When a recommendation comes from an influential person, the general masses usually by nature are motivated to help the NGO in form of charity or sharing their cause further. Like I mentioned about Kareena Kapoor, so the post has gone viral and Vellums has been able to accumulate about 3 lakhs. Social media influencers know the best tactics of gathering new supporters in order to assist them in doing the best for their mission. Also, how does social media influencers help NGOs? Through their blogs, their website. Social media influencers generally have a blog where they update interesting content and they share further. Spreading the word on social networks. Influencers are social by nature, so they spend most of the time on social media networks like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. They do guest posts and case studies. So doing a guest post on popular blogs and websites are another way for social media influencers to help the NGO. Also designing an email campaign like the electronic direct mailers, which help the influencers to set up a subscribers dump who are regular readers and visitors of their site. This is extremely important. So what are the 3 types of influencers? The top influencers, who are typically figures with extremely high reach, and they basically range from 750K to 1 million fans across the platforms. They're notable, well-known, and have built their highly engaged audiences over years by search engine optimization and the marketing which Sunaina mentioned earlier. There are powerful middle influencers. They influence by moderate reach of about 50K to 250K followers all across social media. And there are micro influencers who are relatively newer to the whole game, and their reach is about 10K across social media. Building an online volunteer community is also extremely important for NGOs. So by that I mean you should recruit volunteers from all over the globe. Volunteers can join large international communities in order to contribute to issues that may be happening halfway across the world. Increasing public awareness. So for example, niche social networks like LinkedIn, Twitter could be used to tell stories. You could virtually transport your audiences to the smaller villages, classrooms to actually educate and show the masses how the education system in India works. Also hosting both online discussions and workplaces. An online volunteer community allows both you and your volunteers to be in touch at a more frequent basis. So you could do that through social media, of course, and increasing engagement and activity among volunteers. So for example, watch reality presentations for a week of how the life is in a village with regard to maybe how they access water. So you could form a community and actually, raise funds for the water scarcity in most parts of India, or maybe building of a well, etc. So these are how you could build an online community for an NGO online. Thank you. I would also like to share with you my experience. I've been working at this NGO called Disha NGO for about 11 years now. I teach, so I'm a teacher and a graphic designer. So my students, basically, they formed a community, and every week they come up with a newsletter for the NGO. And there are 2 parts of the NGO. So for the women empowerment part, they actually go and do a little bit of skill development. So my students, they formed a community and they go and they teach a little bit of embroidery, a little bit of tie and dye. So we raise funds through that. And also I manage the digital page for that, NGO for the last 2 years, because they didn't have an online presence earlier. But my students and I, we're trying to make an effort to, just help them with this entire virtual world. So I think digital media plays a very important role, and especially digital marketing in today's times.
Yes. Thank you so much, Aditi. I think volunteers like you are are a huge asset to a lot of NGOs. So moving on, right now we have some time left. We will be opening for questions right now, and I will request participants to actually post their questions also on the chat. We will be opening questions right now, but these are the questions that are asked by our participants on the RSVP form that you all have filled. So Sunaina, one question that our participants have asked is how can they raise funds for NGOs at the time of COVID? So I think you have mentioned this briefly in your presentation earlier. Is there anything else that you would like to add to?
Yeah. So I know that while I was presenting, I did share, ways in which, and you can sort of leverage Google Grants, but I know that possibly will take some more time, as you'll see in the setup guide. But some quick fixes that you can sort of do, and I think Aditi also alluded to that, is like things like email, constantly being in touch with your consumer base. Secondly, using these free tools that you have like Google My Business to actually share these action-oriented things that people can do, because people are looking to help. There's a lot of people who want to help, want to give their money somewhere. So just sort of, leveraging what you already have to sort of put an action out there. So it's like and even some simple fixes that we use when someone wants to be a little bit more action oriented, which I think relates. I'm just going to skip ahead to the question about how to use your website for fundraising. So what are the changes you can make to your website as well? So website more conversion on action driven. So even if it's something as simple as like making your donate now button a little bit more obvious, click donate now, adding testimonials and real stories, that's really, really helpful in terms of getting high quality donors as well. So getting people who've already donated to you guys, who've seen an impact, then even the impact on your beneficiaries. That will build more trust. And I think right now a huge thing is when people are donating, there's so many people trying to procure donations. There's a huge trust. There's a big barrier of trust. So how can you tell people who are donating that, okay, we're trustworthy, your money will go here. And a big thing we've seen is like the exemptions that you have when it comes under donations really help in terms of getting that money into the bank account as well. Yeah.
Okay. I think that answers the question that our participants have asked. Moving on to Aditi. So one question that our participant had asked is how to boost social media presence organically.
Okay, so that's extremely important because it's better than, the paid one, because you don't know who's liked your page. So basically you should focus your efforts on the right places. Optimize your social media profiles, like Sunaina gave us an in-depth thing of SEO optimization tactics or better hashtags by using better Google keywords. Post evergreen content, which will never die off. It's going to leave a long-lasting impact on your audience. So maybe a video which has a lot of emotional, it's very emotionally strong, very sensitive to the audience, so it will attract the crowd. Also post during slower hours and not peak hours, which is very important. So when people are in the office and they are being non-productive, that's the time where they hit the like button. So always target the non-slower hours, like maybe when you're just about entering the office or when you're leaving the office. So try to work on the non-peak hours. Also promote your profile everywhere. Try to do rigorous marketing. At the same time, don't try to promote too much. So you should have like a 50-50 thing. And also right type of content is very important. Like for example, videos capture a lot of crowd. The statuses matter when you share someone's status, or the links, how powerful the link is, or for example, how visuals play a very important role. So if the photograph is very, very impactful, it depends on the content also.
Yeah.
For, social media presence.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Also, like how to engage employees of an organization in creating communication posts for the organization. So,
Okay.
like maybe engaging their volunteers or their donors as well.
Yeah, so maybe they could form a community And basically they could have inbuilt webinars, and they could up their skill game, so that they could develop some kind of a community where people who are good with content could engage with people who are good with maybe a basic design. So that's how they could come up with creative posts.
Okay. And fundraising through social media engagement. That.
Yeah, so basically, again, create a dynamic campaign plan, which is very important. Decide the most relevant platform, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter. Reach out to influencers, like I said, bloggers, influencers. Tailor your message for each platform differently, so that it does not look monotonous. If it's Instagram, try to make it differently. Facebook could be more engaging through, videos, or more interactive. You could have quizzes, you could have games, etc. Celebrate milestones, which is very, very important. So for every milestone, you could have some kind of a participation, like, giveaway or something. And also the power of hashtags, again, I feel makes a lot of difference for social media engagement. It grows the followers. You can make your story live, so that it attracts people from all over. It's not just set to the particular city. And also create a lot of visual content, because people are attracted to less is more, more of visuals than content. They try to get intimidated when they see a ton of content. So yeah. I think that plays an important role.
Okay. I think this answers the question quite well. I would like to thank you both actually for your insights. Participants, we have shared the feedback form with you all on the chat section. Please fill it in so that we could understand what you like, and what we can curate for other webinars for you all. Also, if you all have any questions, you all can ask us on the chat section. We also have a webinar the coming week, next Wednesday, on strategy for NGOs post-lockdown, which is on the 17th of June, the next coming Wednesday. And we'll be sharing the details of the same with you all on the WhatsApp group as well. So if you all want, you can join that as well. Thank you once again.
Aarti, can I just answer Bansi's question, because I think it's just important. I want to clarify what I meant by Google Analytics. Sorry.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, so for Google Analytics, the tool that tells you, what's going on behind the scenes on your website and everything, for that, you don't have to have any sort of registration or anything. It's as simple as deploying a code, asking your web developer to deploy a code on your website, and you can get all that information. I'll be sharing like an in-depth guide for the Google Grants setup, which is more for your ads account, and Google Analytics. As long as you have a website and you put in your code, it's a completely free tool that you can use.
We will be sharing this guide with you all post this, and along with the feedback form, and you can look at that and set up your Google Analytics account. So I hope this is today's webinar was as insightful as the other ones we had earlier. And as you all have been supporting Connect4, we hope to see you all soon on ground as well. Thank you so much.